Shaka, this is Granit Xhaka, and he looks like he's on his way back to the Bundesliga. Where did it all go wrong for him at Arsenal? Was it when he got the captain's armband?
No, I think it went on a long time before. Granit Xhaka getting the captain's armband, I thought was a ridiculous decision on Emery's part. And you only have to look at who he was as a player, weigh that up against the expectations of a captain, and know that it just wasn't a good fit. And it was always going to come apart at the seams. Now, the issue for me with Granit Xhaka is, as good as he may be physically, as much as he may get around the park, his timing of tackles has been desperately poor throughout his career. His reading and understanding of the game, again, is just lacking. His discipline around what he does, for me, doesn't spell the makings of a player who's ever going to be good enough for what you thought Arsenal were or wanted to be as a football club.
His stats are okay. He wasn't brought in as a goal scorer. He's done fine. But when he came from Mönchengladbach, he had one or two games. You thought, yeah, they've got themselves a player. Now it looks like he's headed back to Hertha. In years to come, how will Arsenal fans remember Granit Xhaka?
As a loose cannon, as a potentially a very good player who didn't mature with the minutes that he got at Arsenal Football Club and continued to make very bad decisions. When you play at a club like Arsenal with what's at stake and given the very narrow margins that are involved between success and failure at a club like Arsenal, in a league like the Premier League, as high-paced as it is, you cannot afford to be diving into challenges just because the red mist comes and you decide, I'm going to hang a leg out. It costs you, and it costs you dearly. Listen, on the one hand, maybe you want to sympathise with why you splash money out on Granit Xhaka because, for me, physically, a very good player.
Yeah.
But just mentally, he didn't live up to what was needed.
Gunners can't afford to have a loose cannon, can they? That's good. That's good. Oh, come on, it's better than that. Stop. Come back to me. Earlier this week, we did a piece about Arsenal. I asked you the question, goalkeeper, defence, midfield, forwards. Prioritise where they need to strengthen. You said defence, then midfield. Okay, let's stop there. Who would be a good type of player for Arsenal? Not so much as a replacement, but in his position, if they could sign someone.
That's a tough ask. I mean,
Do you want me to tell jokes then?
What?
Do you want me to tell jokes instead, or do you want to answer the... Yeah.
Again, it's a tough ask. You're looking for a defensive midfielder and then just kind of given Arsenal's own position in terms of pecking order, in terms of the best talents and whether they see Arsenal as a more viable option than insert club in this blank space here. And given their own transfer dealings over recent years, it's left me wondering what's Arsenal's market in that regard. Whereas, there are any number of players you can associate with moving on to a big club, and especially a club with money. Arsenal haven't really delivered on that stereotype over the last few years.
What's their type of player? Their type of player depends which competition they're playing in. And if Mikel Arteta can somehow get them back into the Champions League, then their type of player becomes, from that, to a much better.
Well, Arsenal right now are a very long way away from being a Champions League football club. If Arteta can do that, I think that goes no end to players coming in and having confidence in joining Arsenal again. But similarly, there's still questions about Arteta. This is his first managerial job. We'll see how he does, how quickly he settles in. If he gets close to the top four, let's assume, then maybe they have an option to go after somebody, given his own links, not just in the Premier League or through Manchester City and Pep Guardiola's own contacts, but his own standing in Spain.
Wasn't frightened, it was just like a camera fell down in the studio, but we continued, as we are, professionals.
I was frightened.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.